morning. This is Hap May with the Legal Play.
Good morning, Hap. Welcome, everybody. I'm Chelsea El-Azzi, and I'm excited for this topic today. This is a highly anticipated topic. We have been told. We have currently on our blog a topic: what to do when a business owner dies. That was done. I'm not sure exactly. Couple years ago, before I came on and we started doing the videos, and it's pretty comprehensive in what a business owner should do
in planning his or her death, and
what succession they want to have in place for that, and different items. Part 2 today, what to do when a business owner dies. Part 2 is discussing what to do if a succession plan is not in place.
And the sudden death occurs and there's no real opportunity to plan in the process. And since the owner is now deceased, you can't ask him, where the key to the men's restroom was.
Oh.
Or anything else, or where assets were, or where they were.
Yeah.
So you have to rely upon the records and the other people that are around the business, if any. So that's a distinct problem a lot of businesses have.
So if you have some time, and the owner has is still on this earth, take a read. Go ahead and read the first blog we did, what to do when a business owner dies, and start planning ahead, for the just in case. But if you're listening and you are one of those people who, a loved one has died and has a business they're running, and you're thinking, okay, what do I do? This is this topic.
Right. And there are there's a consideration for loved ones and then a consideration for other people involved in the business.
Okay.
Who may have divergent interest in that.
We're getting, which brings us to, I guess, step one.
Step one
is figuring out who has interest in the business, what type of business
Right.
it is, and who has varying interests in
Right.
it.
And because business is a broad category, a lot of different businesses.
There's sole proprietorships, there's partnerships, there's...
The corporations. There are partnerships where I'm one of the many partners in the process. There are others that I'm sort of the dominant partner, and maybe junior partners, or maybe I'm the only principal, but there are employees, managers.
So maybe let's talk about that one first, because I feel like if there's multiple managing partners, one passing might not be such a big deal. If there's one sole guy running the show,
yes.
That I think is where people have a hard time, because maybe he's the one with all the passwords and, as you said, the keys and the know-how and all the little quirks with the employees. So what happens when that guy passes, or that woman I should say, that person passes?
When that business person happens, depending on what the business is, there's a need to act quickly. Customers tend to go elsewhere if there's not somebody in charge of the business running it in the process, or leading the employees, or buying the goods, or producing the goods. So that needs to be nailed down quickly. There are employees that are going to want to keep the business going, maybe take over the business. There are family members that may just want to sell the business, figure out how to liquidate it, and get some money. Sometimes you get both. Sometimes you get a one child that wants to stay with the business, and another child just wants to get money. And there's a divergence of interest with regard to that. And so while you want to protect the business, you want to make sure you're also protecting the various constituents, so that if you want to protect the business, you don't just hand it over to the employees. There needs to be some involvement in the family in order to protect their interests, make sure the employees just don't take the business.
Okay, so and kind of leading into that, one of the other things that we discussed earlier today is, in this interim, the person has died, and there's a short window of time where you need to act quickly and take certain steps so that you don't lose the business.
Right. And one example is my son-in-law and I bought an accounting practice for somebody who died rather suddenly. and had very little, had a will, but not really any plans. He was a sole proprietor, had an assistant bookkeeper and that was the total of his business. And we came in and bought from the estate, from the widow, the interest, but about 60 days after
he had died.
And a lot of the clients, knowing that he had died, had already left and found other accountants. The estate and the business as a whole, the practice, would have done much better if we'd been in a week or two after he died, as opposed to 2 months after he died, because then we'd be able to say, we have the records, we are qualified to do this, and tell the clients, come by and see us, and perhaps more of them would have stayed with the practice than did, and as a result, we would have paid more for the more, since the amount we paid was based upon the retention of the clients.
Okay.
The estate would have gotten more, the widow would have gotten more, and we would have had more business in the process.
So in that window of time between a business owner dying and then somebody figuring out what to do with the business and then continuing it on, there were other things. You said in that time, clients may go elsewhere.
Right.
Employees may go elsewhere. Equipment might go,
unmaintained,
unused, or missing.
Or yes, that happens.
Information.
Right, information needs to be protected and termed, and whatever computer it's on, needs to be done.
So there's a lot of things that go into the business that may happen in the interim between someone passing suddenly, potentially unexpectedly, and then handing off the business to somebody who can then continue running it efficiently, effectively. So in that window of time, what can a person do or start doing to protect the clients, the client base, keep the employees on, protect the assets of the business?
Okay, well, one of the things is, to determine what the ownership structure is, whether there's an estate that actually owns things. Most probate or most jurisdictions have a probate procedure whereby you can appoint a temporary administrator on an emergency basis.
Okay.
And we have had to do that in a few times, so that there is somebody, if you need to have somebody in charge and the corporate structure is not something that creates a vice president of the company that can immediately take over, you may need to go to probate court, fairly fast to get that done and get an executor in place who then is the shareholder and can vote to elect a new president and a new board of directors, particularly in cases where there's a small business and the decedent was the president and the chairman of the board and may have been the driving force in the company. A decision fairly soon has to be made. Are you going to continue to run the business? Because some businesses can be profitable while the main breadwinner is alive, or the main rainmaker, but not be profitable afterwards. In which case, you're looking for some way to wind down the business, sell the assets, find somebody else to come in and take over the business in the process.
And if there's employees, then how do you get the employees to stay on while all of this is up in the air?
And there are various ways. One is you can give them retention bonuses, and if you're planning this, we kind of build that in.
How do you do that if you're not the person with management authority that's able to cut checks?
You basically have to get that authority. I mean, if the family owns it, the family and recognizes the fact that this is a business we need to keep going. Either keep going so we can continue to operate it as a family business, or keep it going so that we have an asset that's worth selling to somebody who wants to come in and buy it in the process. If that's the case, which is probably true in most businesses, then you want some of the employees you have to stay there. And if the court can quickly, or either the corporate bylaws allow for an immediate appointment, somebody who's already designated as a vice president or something like that, or there's enough of a board to elect a new president, or if not, go to court and get that, and then you enter into a basic contract with those key employees, so they maintain their job, or perhaps they're elevated because there's a void left by the decedent, and promise them either a part of the business, an option to buy the business, which sometimes keeps them around. And sometimes they may be the appropriate people to take over the business.
Because they've been there a while and they know how it's run.
They know how to do that.
They have the client relationships.
Right. Or promise them a bonus when the business is ultimately sold to some new buyer.
Okay.
And that new buyer may also want to keep them.
Yeah, I feel like there are some logistical pieces, though. I mean, if you've got the one guy behind the computer with the QuickBooks account, and he's the and that person goes, logistically, are there going to be employees that know how to do that kind of stuff?
In some businesses, yes, and most businesses, no. I mean, most businesses, small businesses in particular, has sort of a small accounting department.
So who, if you are this person that's now trying to figure out, okay, the key man of the business has passed away, and
right.
I want to figure out, at least buy me some time to figure out what's going to happen with the business. Either it's going to continue running in some form or fashion, or we're going to wind down, but we're not there yet. I do want to keep it running at least temporarily. Who are the people you need to talk to?
Well, depending on what the nature of the business is. I mean, the accounting people, to know who gets paid, what bills are out there to get paid, because that's all going to happen. If it's got a large, sales, element to it, the key salespeople, sales manager, in the process. If it is a producing plant, who are the production people? I mean, basically, what is it in the business that makes the business thrive?
Okay.
In the process, either production, sales, or something else in the process. If it's a service industry, who are those people that provide that service?
Okay. So I'm now this person. I'm the one, dealing with this loss and trying to figure out what to do with the business. I'm going to open a probate case.
Right. Hopefully there's a will, and at least somebody's getting appointed executor, or you're dealing with a
dependent administrator,
which is really difficult for a business to do. Can be done, but that's the difficulties of having a dependent administration, where you basically have to go ask the court permission to do almost
everything.
Anything in
the
process.
So once again, we have another podcast where we say, if you don't have a will, make one.
Yes.
Okay, so I feel like the first step is to go ahead and get things. Well, maybe start talking to the employees in the business, start gathering information.
The employees and the family members.
Employees and the family members.
They may have divergent interests, and amongst the family member, there may be some,
But I'd say go ahead and in that same time period, go ahead and get the probate case opened.
Yes.
And start trying to figure out what temporary orders you need to have in place.
Right. If it's a dependent administration and you want to sell the business, you're going to have to get that approved. If it's an independent administration, basically there is a will and executor appointed. You don't have to, so that's going to be a much more efficient thing. Particularly if you want to do something quickly. I'm an example of the accounting firm. You probably don't want to wait around to make a motion and hold hearings and determine whether or not the dependent administrator is going to approve the next accountant, because you lose business in that interim. One of the biggest situations is with medical practices. When the doctor dies, you've got this, and a lot of doctors are sole proprietors or small groups, probably less so now, but that used to be the case, and still a number of them out there. But he dies, what happens to his practice? Because those patients are not going to be patient.
No.
In the process, they're going to move on to somebody else, and there are other doctors out there that'll take them, and it's not.
Yeah, and I feel like a client base in that one might not be the biggest. Well, I don't know that it would be realistic for a client base to want somebody else to just be put in place and be like, here's your new doctor, because I feel like in that case, clients want to be able to choose.
Well, there's some truth to that, but you don't want that vacancy there.
Right.
Because you will need to have somebody there, so at least some of the business can be there and transferred and stuff like that. I mean, some younger doctor willing to pay, the estate to be able to take over that practice would want to do so quickly and be able to, quickly contact the clients, bring them in, develop a relationship with them before. But if you leave that vacant for a month, those patients are going to go elsewhere because they have to. I mean, they call in and says, hey, I've got this cough, or I've got, my heart beating too fast. You
Right.
can't tell them, well, wait a month and, a new doctor will be here.
Right.
So they will go elsewhere, and they need to. I mean, in that case, that's.
And you did bring up an interesting example, which I thought, I don't know that there's a lot of this in Houston specifically, but if you're a retail sales or wholesaler,
and how perishable
items, right?
Yes,
like bananas in a warehouse,
right? If I buy and sell bananas, and I've got a warehouse, bananas basically you got to buy them and sell them every day in the process, and so if I am the fruit merchant and I die, we need to move quickly, at least to sell that inventory.
That
even if we have to sell it at a loss, we don't want to let bananas sit in a warehouse for a month while the probate court and the employees and the family kind of all get together and figure out what to do with.
And I like that example because there's all of the different variety of businesses, and some have brick and mortar storefronts. There's a clinic where you're going to go to see the doctor that's an actual building. But in a lot of cases like these sales of product, you can easily just be facilitating movement of the product by sitting at home, but it's your business. You've got your sales relationships with your
customers,
your
vendor
your
relationship,
your suppliers, your
yeah.
vendors, and then you've got your customers you sell to, and all the people in between who work the
logistic people. Yes,
and so there's
inspectors. I mean, that whole process.
And it may be that's a profitable business that nobody wants to just let go because this key man running the logistics has suddenly passed.
Right.
But like you said, there might be products sitting. Drivers sitting there and okay, I'm waiting to be told go.
That's something that needs to be acted on quickly, or else you lose value and can create problems. I mean, a stinky warehouse in our example there.
Yeah. So if you find yourself in this position, or somebody who has found themselves in this position, please let them know we're here. We are here to help.
Yes, act quickly. Call your lawyer. Call your accountant. Talk to the family members. Talk to the employees. Develop a plan. Develop it quickly. And there's a funeral somewhere, but some of these things need to be done before the funeral.
We do need to. I feel like that's worth mentioning is that there may be a lot of emotion that you're the person who needs this is dealing with, that may make it difficult for them to take these steps, to take these actions. And I think that's why there are people like us in place to help you do that.
The lawyers, the accountants, business managers, things like that you can handle these things, until the emotions, do what has to be done while the emotions kind of play themselves out as they do in these matters. It also, but there's the family that is grieving. But there's also the employees that don't know whether they have a job yet or not. Some employees may see the opportunity to take business with them and leave elsewhere. So there's this period of time where there's an uncertainty, and the trick to it is to minimize that period of uncertainty.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
This is a good topic. I feel like it's going to be useful for a lot of people.
Hopefully they have good plans, good business succession plans, good wills and stuff like that, and a conversation like this would be unnecessary.
Right.
But not always.
Yeah, but if you find yourself there, you know who to call. So,
all right.
Thanks, Hap.
All right. This is Hap May with A Legal Play.
And if you like this video, like and subscribe and share with your friends.